Hey, good afternoon. Thanks for coming along. It's the Wednesday edition. A hot day here in August, and we're super excited. Kath, you're looking very, very breezy. Very, I would say, yacht-like.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Very nice indeed.
Because it's date night on the Gateway Princess tonight.
Whoa.
Yeah, and I'm excited about my date. I'll tell you right now. Christy,
Yeah.
I'm excited about my date.
Oh,
I'm glad you're excited about your date.
Yep.
I mean, I'm excited about my date, which is you. And, of course, we're going to have like 200 people from our listening audience.
250 of our closest friends.
Yeah, joining us on the Gateway Clipper, what is it, the Princess?
The Princess is what is it. We're going to be, what do you call it when you get on a boat?
Boarding?
Embark.
Embark.
Or disembark and embark. I think that sounds like the most official thing.
We're embarking. We are embarking, leaving at 6:30 p.m. this evening.
Yes.
Sold out event.
Yes, we're excited. It sold out in lickety-split time.
Yeah. And
That's because everybody's like, are they out of their homes yet? We broadcast from our spare rooms for so long. I think perhaps people wanted to just confirm that we actually, in person, we're still doing our
perhaps
jobs.
so, yeah. Mm-hmm. I was wishing that I had like a little Captain and Tennille hat today.
Oh, that would have been nice.
Hat.
I could sing Love Will Keep Us
Right?
Together.
Just a little Captain
You know what I'm going to be wearing tonight? Yellow shoes.
Why? Just because
they
you
kind of
can.
match my outfit.
All right, good. Yeah.
And I'm not wearing them right now. They're out in my car.
All right. Lovely in yellow. That's
yep.
not gold. That's gold you're wearing, the dress.
Yeah, I think the shoes are maybe they're a golden yellow.
All right, very nice.
I look forward to it.
Excellent.
How
Well,
often can you wear yellow shoes, John?
I think if you wanted to, you could wear them every day. I used to have a pair of yellow shoes, and no, and
All of a sudden,
wait,
it's like I dream of Jeannie again.
I had a pair of yellow shoes, and they were had Velcro. It was the 70s.
Wow.
Velcro, strips across them.
Yeah, that was a.
I remember them very, very well.
That was a little dip in fashion world.
I think I probably looked pretty good. My memory may be clouded by decades
I don't
or
want to
whatever.
disturb your memory.
Anyway, the Gateway Clipper Princess notwithstanding, the world continues to revolve. And Kath, as we always do, we get underway with the show. Please, let's take a look at the news stories. Give us the top 4 at 4.
For Wednesday, August 25th, 2021, Word FM Day 9. Number 1. The U.S. has evacuated roughly 82,300 people on U.S. military and coalition flights from Kabul since August 14th, the White House said today. As the Biden administration warns of a growing risk to American and allied forces on the ground in Afghanistan with each day that passes. According to CBS News, the pace of evacuations is also picking up. Check this out. 19,000 people were airlifted from the airport in the capital over a 24-hour period.
Wow. That's a busy airport.
19,000 people. A plane left the airport in Kabul every 39 minutes.
Wow.
Yesterday, and there are more than 10,000 people at the airport still waiting for flights to leave. Number 2. The House today passed the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act legislation that aims to strengthen a key component of the landmark Voting Rights Act of 1965 after they say it was weakened by 2 Supreme Court decisions. According to ABC News, the legislation, named after the late civil rights icon, passed the House with a final vote of 219 to 212. There was no Republican support. With at least 17 Republican-led state legislatures passing voting restrictions recently, Democrats say, and voting rights advocates say, the bill will ensure ballot access for minority voters, but House Republicans blasted the bill as a, quote, federal takeover of elections and a power grab by Democrats who would undermine the state election process. Number 3. News comes today from Brigham and Women's Hospital, John, that a power nap gives people the chance to rest for a short period of time to boost workplace productivity.
Oh, yeah. Wait, so you take a nap at work?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think so.
But power naps, they say, are only beneficial when they are done correctly. So something else we have to obsess over is whether we are doing the power nap correctly or not.
No, that's not good.
According to USA Today, sleep experts say that power naps should be quick and refreshing, typically between 20 and 30 minutes in order to increase alertness throughout the day. You do not have to sleep fully, said James Moss, former professor and chair of psychology at Cornell, who coined the term power nap more than 50 years ago.
Really?
He made that up.
Oh.
He made that up. He said, just shut your eyes, breathe slowly, and recharge. Research has shown that power naps work. A recent study from the Better Sleep Council found that 1 in 5 working Americans do nap during the workday. Who are these people that are napping during the workday?
They also have beanbag chairs and they're playing ping
I don't
pong.
know what's happening. 87% of them report feeling refreshed afterwards. Sleep experts say the finding isn't surprising because in contrast to coffee or soda, which will likely damage your sleep at night and only offer short-term energy for about 30 minutes, a power nap is a healthier alternative to improve workplace performance, strengthen memory, and boost your creativity.
Very nice. I've often thought there should be a Word FM cot here at the
That
studio.
would be nice.
Because there have been instances where I've laid down. Have you? You never done that?
One time we were stuck here. I do remember laying down in my office, which is funny because when I stretch out fully, my feet and
There's
my
no
head,
room.
that's however tall I am, which is 5'4", is how long my office is.
But we could take, you could take a nap in this studio here.
Like right here on the table.
No, it's too hard. But you know what I'm saying.
I don't know if it's clean enough. Number 4. Some Pittsburgh residents may have been wondering why some stars in the night sky have been more difficult to see in recent years, or why evenings seem less tranquil than they used to. Well, it could be that excessive use of artificial light called light pollution, and according to our Pittsburgh mayor, it's adversely affecting our health.
Twinkle, twinkle.
Okay?
Okay.
The Trip reports today the mayor announced a new dark sky lighting ordinance for all city parks, facilities, and streetlights.
I like it.
The term refers to the use of technology to minimize the use of outdoor lighting to only what's necessary. So the ordinance was presented to City Council yesterday, and under the ordinance, the city will follow dark sky principles for its newly installed or retrofitted streetlights, new construction, and renovated park spaces and playgrounds.
I like it. I like it a lot.
That is your top 4, people.
Very nice.
At 4.
For years, we were members of the Triple P, the Amateur Astronomy Association of Pittsburgh.
Sure.
And as they gathered, one of the guys who runs the organization would always belie, "What are we doing with these streetlights? They're pushing light up into the sky. It'd be better for all of us to have a dark sky." So I'm with all that.
Are you?
If you can do it, why not do it?
Okay.
Yeah.
What about the sleeping? What about the napping? How do you feel about that?
I'm pro napping, although the power nap thing, I'm not. My wife's always going, "I'll just take a nap for 15 minutes." I'm like, how about an hour?
Yeah. If I'm going to nap, I like a strong 90.
I agree. 15 minutes.
I don't think that really helps. I don't know if
Right. However, a 90-minute nap at work probably would be frowned upon.
Well, I can't figure out what kind of workplace these people are in that their supervisors think
Well,
that's
you
okay.
know, it's these, young hipsters at Google
Well, like at
and
Google,
whatnot.
they're allowed to
Yeah,
take a power nap.
Probably. A power nap, they probably can just roll up and, check out for the day. I would think so.
It says here the power naps can reduce accidents and mistakes. So I feel like, based on what happens here on the ride home, maybe we should consider that. Just an idea.
Casting aspersions early on in the show. Let us take a break. When we do come back, Pastor Josh Brown is with us. He's going to talk about the grammar of the gospel. Cross your T's, dot your I's. That's straight ahead here. The Ride Home, where Pittsburgh's Christian Talk on Word FM. Pastor Josh Brown is back with us. Josh is a regular guest on our show, a monthly guest, I should say, here today to talk to us about the grammar of the gospel. Hey, Josh, welcome back. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me once again.
Always good, Josh.
Okay, so grammar when it comes to the gospel. So if I follow God, so let's see, the prosperity. This is where the prosperity gospel comes from, which is right. If I give money to some televangelist, then I'm going to get a special
Dispensation.
magical prayer cloth that's going to
Right.
fix everything for me.
Yeah, that's one particular example of, I think, just a much more deeply rooted thing that lies in the human heart, I think, in general, and that is having an understanding or an expectation that that's the way things work in my relationship with God. If I do X, Y, Z, whatever that is, then God will respond in this particular way. And that's a one specific example you gave there, Kathy. I mean, I think even at the broadest level, you could just say, if I check all the boxes, then God will love me. If I make sure that I am as good a person as I can possibly be, then that will be the thing that prompts God to acknowledge me or to look down with favor or something like that. But there's this if-then dynamic that I think is really, that's one way I think you could really kind of categorize what you see in a lot of Scripture, which is that attitude of what people call works righteousness. You know, if I do this, then God will respond with favor, with blessing, with love, with all of these things. But that's the dynamic, this if-then dynamic.
Or the reverse of that, Josh, is why me, Lord? Something's happened here, and me of all people, I've been following along. I've been trying to be good. I've been, all this, and then this happens. So what's the problem?
Yeah, exactly. I think you're right, John. I mean, you see some of those conversations with Job and his friends where, some of his friends at different points are trying to say, well, you must have done something wrong, Job. I mean, you can't be as blameless as you are claiming to be, because if all this bad stuff is happening in your life, that's clearly because you did something to deserve it, or you weren't in good enough standing, or those kinds of things. So you're right. It goes kind of both ways there, I think, but I would say it's a similar thing. If I do this, or if I don't do this, then God is going to respond in one of these couple ways. So I think that's the way the heart is that's like the default setting for the human heart, is thinking that that's the way things work, this if-then kind of relationship.
Yeah, so there's like a cosmic ATM.
Right, a transactional account.
Right, and so if you have the right stuff going in, then exactly what you expect is going to come out.
That's scary.
Very much, yeah. I think that's a good way to put it. And you see that kind of a dynamic in so many things, right? What people talk about with the concept of karma, it's operating under that same thing. If I do this, then a reciprocal thing will come about in turn. But I would say that if you get down there, that's the similarity, I think, with a lot of those, is that understanding. My behaviors are the thing that produce some kind of a corresponding behavior or action from God or the universe or whatever you're calling it.
Right.
Or did this man sin, or did his parents?
Yeah, exactly. What caused this? That was our question. What did they do to cause this? Because that's the way we think things work. Yeah, our behavior prompts or necessitates something that's a responsive action from God.
Yeah. So is that pride or biblical illiteracy or just people being dumb?
Yeah, all of the above, I suppose. I think it's a darkening of the heart. I mean, it's an unawareness of the way in which the gospel actually works, and that shows us yet again that the gospel is not something that is intuitive to us. It's not something that we just sort of. It doesn't really even make sense on its own. It's something that is very counterintuitive, very shocking. And when I say the gospel, I mean what I'm referring to is the fact that it's God who reaches out to us out of his free grace and mercy, and in Christ does for us the things that we cannot possibly do for ourselves, and gives us this new status, this new standing, entirely from his free grace and mercy, according to the pleasure of his good will, as Ephesians talks about it, and that everything then comes out of that. So what I'm suggesting with maybe thinking of it, if you want to call it the grammar of the gospel, is that the gospel would say it's not if then, it's because therefore. And what I mean by that is because God has done this for you, therefore this is what it should look like in your life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It changes our not only does it change, it's like anything in language, right? Language isn't just something that just happens. It's something that actually helps us to define reality. And so if we're not speaking it correctly, we're not understanding it correctly, right? So if we're going into it with an if.
Done for you. This is who God is. This is what God has done for you. They're statements. And then imperatives are commands, saying, and then these are the things that God is calling you to do, the ways that he is calling you to live or love or labor in this world. And so what people will talk about is what the gospel shows us is that the indicatives precede the imperatives. So that's just a little more technical way of saying what I'm suggesting here, that it's because, therefore. And so to your question, Kathy, I would say it's something you see this kind of mapped out. I think you see this kind of a movement, for example, in something like 1 John chapter 4. So there's a great passage there in 1 John 4, beginning in verse 9. It says, "In this the love of God was made manifest among us, that God sent his only Son into the world so that we might live through him. This is love, not that we loved God, but that he loved us and sent his Son to be the propitiation for our sins. Beloved, if God so loved us, we also ought to love one another." So that's just one example of a place where you see that movement. John is saying, this is what God did. You didn't love God. You didn't start this. You weren't the catalyst. God loved you. And this is what he did to demonstrate that. Now, go and live in the ways that bear witness to that. Go out and love one another in the ways you've been called to.
Right.
But it's a different movement. That's what I'm calling this because, therefore, which is different than if then.
There's the transaction, but we take it and pervert the transaction.
Yeah, we flip it. Yeah, exactly. And that's why the gospel really is. That's one of the reasons why we all have to hear the gospel again and again and again, because it's different than the way we tend to just operate in the world. And we have to be reminded again and again, no, this is what God has done for you. And now, therefore, here's what should look different in your life. Here's new ways he's calling you to live as a result of that.
And I like that, Josh, that we do have to hear it again and again or read it again and again, because it's not of the world, it's otherworldly. Just the sense of it all.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, Martin Luther was one of the many people who said that he needed to preach the gospel to himself every single day and to others as well. It isn't one of those things you just hear once and say, oh, yeah, okay, that makes sense, I get it, and then you just go on as if that's all you ever need to do. It isn't the way that we operate on basically any level. So daily we need to hear, hey, God loves you. This is what he has done to demonstrate that in Jesus Christ. This is what that means for you. Now, therefore, here's what that should look like as you go out in this world.
Yeah, and if we don't get that in the right order, isn't it remarkable how many different ways we can become corrupted by that? Funny you should bring up that passage. I was just reading that last night, and I was thinking as I was reading it that, one of the things that's so remarkable that I really love about the younger generation right now, the Gen Zers, is that they seem to be a more compassionate group than my generation is. They're in a lot of ways kinder and more other-centered. But I was thinking as I was reading this, but if you don't recognize that your compassion comes because God loved you first, then you get corrupted in different ways.
You do. You're right. The behaviors on the outside can look very, very similar. You can have people who are demonstrating a love, a sacrificial service, a welcoming to other people, but the motivation, the deep heart motivation, can be very different. And even if the things look good on the outside, and I don't mean to just dismiss them, we've always got to be asking ourselves, what's driving me to do this? Well, why am I doing this thing? Is it because I am resting in what God has done for me and who I am in Christ? Or is it because I'm feverishly trying to make sure that I'm in the right place with God because of the things I have done?
We're talking with Pastor Josh Brown from Bellefield Presbyterian Church in the Oakland neighborhood here in the city of Pittsburgh. Bellefield's right across from the University of Pittsburgh. So, Josh, talk for a second about Bellefield. I mean, we're back in session once again. Hopefully, that students are going to be on campus, and there'll be thriving and integration and a lot of all that engagement once again. How are things at Bellefield and the welcome mat out at the front door?
Well, that's exactly the hope. Yeah, it feels a little bit more this fall like it has some other ones. There are still some differences, but yeah, this is we are right in the middle of the University of Pittsburgh. We're adjacent to Carnegie Mellon. We're right down the street from Chatham and Duquesne and Carlow. So students are coming flooding back in. Our university staff has been out there. This is move-in week, so we've been passing out water and helping people get settled into their places, and just doing anything we can to let people know, hey, yeah, there is good news, and we'd like to share that with you because it does change the way that you interact with everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an exciting time. Trying to be responsible in the ways that we go about interacting with so many new people in this particular season, but want to be reaching out to welcome as many as we possibly can.
Yeah, if you've got a child, you've got a kid who is entering into college, and your child's a Christian, you want their child to continue on with their faith journey through those college years. That's why it's so important to be part of that college community, Josh.
Yeah, that's exactly the hope. And for those who have grown up in the church, certainly we want to be the next stage in their kind of faith journey. But there's also there's a lot who just have not ever heard the good news about Jesus. And so doing whatever we can to reach out and show that love in real, practical ways and introduce them to Jesus. There's a lot of need. There's a lot of opportunity for that. And it's a middle of the urban university setting is about as ripe a place as I think you can find for those kinds of things.
Outstanding. Josh, we're going to, a little later on this evening, we're going to be out in a sailboat on the Caribbean blue waters of the Monongahela.
Okay, first of all, it's not going to be a sailboat. And second of all, it's not going to be, the waters are going to be blue.
But it's in our minds, it'll be that way, right?
That's true, yeah.
But you yourself, you've been on a boat. You like to boat, don't you?
I do, yeah. If there's a chance to get out there and enjoy some of that, it's a lot of fun. A couple weeks ago, family had a chance to get away for a couple days down to Deep Creek, and we just rented a pontoon boat one day and just floated around out there. And
nice.
Yeah, there's something very calming and relaxing about that. It's nice.
I don't feel like this is going to be calming and relaxing.
No, come on.
We're going to be with 250 of our closest friends, Josh, and it's going to be.
Oh no, that's totally different.
Yeah,
then.
and it's going to be on the Mon. So.
Yeah, no, that's totally different.
Okay.
You've got all other kinds of things you're going to be working through there.
We look forward to it.
There's a lot of things you're going to be working through. I like that. That's Josh Brown, Belfield Evangelical Presbyterian Church in Oakland. Thanks, Josh.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.
Our great pleasure. Take a quick break. Come back. When we do come back, 38 odd jobs that no longer exist.
That's why I can't go and do them.
I know. It's just they're not there anymore.
All right.
The world's moved on. So every day technology sort of overtakes professions, does it not?
Yes, it does.
You think about, all the different jobs that have been just put by the wayside in the short time that computers have been around. Well, I saw a piece today on a place that I purvey, goodhousekeeping.com.
It's daily trip, just to see what's up, piece of art he can put on the wall, some nice new design scheme he can institute, maybe some curtains he could stitch.
Get some stains out. Goodhousekeeping.com. Anyway, 38 jobs that no longer exist. Let me run down a few of these things.
All right.
The milkman.
Oh, yeah.
Remember did you get the milkman?
Yes.
Did you?
Yes.
Oh, we never did it.
Oh, because that was...
It was way beyond our means.
Was it?
Oh, but I played a milkman, but the idea of a
Right in our
milkman.
town.
Mm-hmm. Tell me about the milkman. Did you know your milkman?
Marburger?
Marburger Dairy.
Yes.
I remember the trucks.
Yes, we had a gray milk box right outside our front door.
Yeah.
And inside it, there was a white piece of paper, and you could check off the things that you wanted. That's how you placed your
Cottage
order.
cheese, butter.
Sour cream, eggs, whatever those things were. I'm not sure if eggs were part of it or
I
not.
bet it was.
Maybe.
How old were you when it disappeared? Do you know? The milkman.
I probably junior high.
Okay.
But looking back, I never even thought anything else. You don't even think about it.
No, it's
when you're little.
Right.
And now that I think back on it, that is what a great idea.
Oh, fabulous.
I love
The
that.
guy driving around every day. You
I
get some
love
fresh
that.
milk. How about the elevator operator? I always wanted to be one.
My great aunt Wanda was an elevator operator.
Really?
And I thought it was such a fancy thing to do.
Can you
I
imagine?
remember she was an operator in a building in New Kensington, and my grandma would take me there. And it was, it was the old, beautiful kind, that you close, the diamond screen,
Oh, yeah.
that you close, and it makes that little metal clink, right? And it just seemed like that's what civilized people did.
How many stories was it? Do you know?
No idea.
I mean, you can imagine,
Couldn't have been New Ken. Couldn't have been that many stories.
So imagine, if it was like the Empire State Building, you're going 60s, how
Right.
cool that would have been. Because
Now listen, when I went to the Art Institute for Interior Design, there was an elevator operator there.
I used to do voiceover work for a guy down on Ross Street, and it was a massive elevator. It was like a
freight elevator.
He had
Yeah.
a couch in there.
Yeah.
And you get on the elevator, you go 3. There must have been 8 stories or something like that.
Right. I wonder how many buildings in downtown Pittsburgh still have elevator operators.
Not that long ago, well, I should say maybe a decade or so ago, there was a kerfuffle. Some guy, he robbed someone in downtown Pittsburgh, ran into a building where the opera had their houses, the Pittsburgh Opera had their houses, and the elevator operator, he helped solve the crime because the criminal ran into the elevator and he was trapped in there. So,
I love that. Yeah.